What's up, YouTube? Pillsbury Dowboy here, back with the monthly installment of the Tao Te Ching interpretations for my learning series, Cognizance is Key. That's basically just kind of meant to, evoke thought and kind of start conversation and whatnot. And today we are on the 7th page of the Tao Te Ching. This is a book that I have read numerous times, but I don't always kind of have the same blooper reel. I don't always have the same interpretation when I read it again as I have before, and I always kind of have fun, going through it and finding out. In the last episode, I actually kind of found out that there was kind of a thesis I felt was presented that I had completely forgot the whole time. So it was kind of interesting for me. Hopefully it's interesting for everybody else. But with all that said, the 7th page says, "The Tao is infinite, eternal. Why is it eternal? It was never born. Thus it can never die. Why is it infinite? It has no desires for itself. Thus it is present for all beings. The master stays behind. That is why he or she is ahead. He or she is detached from all things. That is why he or she is one with them. Because he or she has let go of themselves, they are perfectly fulfilled." Okay, so kind of breaking it down line by line like I normally do. The Tao is infinite and eternal. So, unfortunately, I kind of hate to sound like a broken record. I still kind of think that to kind of give it more of a Western interpretation, it's more the Tao is maybe kind of akin to God, or it's something similar to God. Well, I guess akin would be saying that. It's either God or it's something similar to it. Why is it eternal? It was never born. There are times I really kind of have to take a pass on what Lao Tzu is saying. I honestly think that's going to be one of them. I don't even remotely have an idea of what he's trying to say there. I guess maybe kind of giving it a thought as I said that, it kind of goes with the idea that we in the West believe in God, but we don't know where God came from. God just is the origin of all things, but we know that our creation had an originator and they had an originator, so on and so forth. So who was God's originator? We don't know. And I guess Lao Tzu is saying it's the same thing with the Tao. It was never born, thus it can never die. Okay, so I guess I basically I didn't need to take a pass on the never born part. The never dying part, though, it doesn't seem to really elaborate. Lao Tzu doesn't really seem to elaborate on that. So, as to why the God or the Tao can never die, I guess just because it's intangible. Things that have a physical form, we know that they can be killed. But the Tao, I guess, would be something that has no physical form. So, therefore, it cannot be killed. Perhaps that's what he's trying to say. Why is it infinite? It has no desire for itself. Thus it is present for all beings. The funny thing is, this whole time, I keep reading things and thinking, wow, I'm going to have to take a pass on this. And then I say something just to not have long, awkward silence. And in the meantime, my mind kind of finds some sort of thesis on it. I guess what Lao Tzu is trying to say is our desires can sometimes be the end of us. However, the Tao has no desire. The odd thing being, in my mind at least, it almost makes it sound like Lao Tzu is saying the Tao is just a tool. It's at your disposal. So it has no more desire for itself than a hammer does, but at the same time, my last thesis was it's intangible, so but tools definitely are tangible, so I feel like those are two contradictory statements. The only question, I guess, in my mind would be whether I'm wrong or Lao Tzu just kind of didn't hit the mark with what he was trying to say. Maybe he kind of had a bit of a hypocritical moment, and that's not to insult Lao Tzu. Obviously, for me to have the word Tao in my name to do these series, I very much like his writings. But, I mean, admittedly, we all have our hypocritical moments. Not necessarily even hypocritical, that sounds a little too harsh. Our contradictory moments, I guess would be a better term. The master stays behind, that is why they are ahead. My immediate thought, okay, so we've all had that manager. No, that's ironically enough also contradictory. I was going to say we've all had that manager that kind of leads from behind, but that would kind of... And I was going to say that that's a bad thing, but then that would be contradictory to the point I'm trying to make here. I guess it's trying to make a point of being able to see what's going on better. If you are in front of people, your back is turned to them, you do not see what is going on. However, if you are behind observing, not in a pervy way, of course, then you can kind of get a better idea of what's going on. But that almost kind of has like a warlike connotation to it, though. And Lao Tzu is saying nothing about war in this passage. So it almost begs the question why you can't be in front of someone but looking at them. I think that's where I'm going to have to take the pass on that one. I'm not entirely sure what he's trying to say there. They are detached from all things. That is why they are one with them. I'm more confused by this one singular page than I think I have been all the pages that I've read so far. The funny thing is, Epic Rap Battles of History, they did a video with Lao Tzu in it, and Sun Tzu said, you need to fill your bowl with some shit that makes some sense. I might slightly agree with Sun Tzu at this moment. Maybe Lao Tzu is really on to something, but then again, maybe this was a very contradictory statement as well. If you're detached from something, so I'm looking at a water bottle right now, if I'm holding it in my hand, I am not one with it in the loosest sense possible. I'm very detached from it. So I don't know what he's trying to say. If anyone has read this book and knows better, please feel free to comment. I know that every YouTuber prompts you to comment. That's honestly, that's my intention isn't in my favor. It's, like I said, part of this is to be a learning experience, and if I'm constantly passing on these, I'm not teaching any sort of thesis. And page 7 has almost been one giant pass for me. And this has to be entertaining for some people, and that's awesome. I'm not going to get butthurt over that. But like I said, this is supposed to be a teaching sort of segment of the channel, and I'm not teaching much at all, except maybe some humility because I'm willing to laugh at my own inability to comprehend this, I guess. Because they have let go of themselves, they are perfectly fulfilled. To me, that has to do with ego. How many times have we just been deeply insulted because someone said something, and we decided to kind of take it as, oh, that's so insulting, and I'm so hurt, and how dare they, and that ego comes into play, and that it doesn't even just have to do with perception of insult. I mean, actually being insulted. I mean, if someone wants to insult you, so be it. Don't take it so seriously. If you know that what they say about you is incorrect, just pity them for their assumption, I guess, and go about your day with what's the best ways to put it? I want to say courage. Courage doesn't seem confidence. I seem to really be messing up a lot of words that I mean to say today. I did another video and I kind of did that a little bit as well. But just go about your day with confidence in the fact that they are incorrect about you, and just don't let it bother you, man. Moving on to page 8. The supreme good is like water, which nourishes all things without trying to. It is content with the low places that people disdain. Thus it is like the Tao. In dwelling, live close to the ground. In thinking, keep to the simple. In conflict, be fair and generous. In governing, don't try to control. In work, do what you enjoy. In family life, be completely present. When you are content to be simply yourself and don't compare or compete, everybody will respect you. I really love page 8. I had forgotten that it was a thing, but he seems to deliver a lot of very positive, very important messages all in one, just all in that same page. And it's interesting because usually people will try to kind of, when they write books like this, try to kind of follow a pattern, think of a string. It's very connected and it goes from one point to another, but you have, in a sense, certain points in between. Lao Tzu doesn't really seem to do that. It's almost maybe whatever came to mind he wrote, until maybe things just didn't come to mind anymore, or he maybe felt he was getting too repetitive. Whatever the case may be, not much is known about him. But to kind of commentate on what I just read, so breaking it down, the supreme good is like water which nourishes all things without trying to. That almost, to me, kind of has a connotation of, again, your actions speak louder than your words. If you're just being yourself, who you are will come naturally. You won't even try to. It is content with the low places that people disdain. Thus it is like the Tao. Being content with the low places that people disdain, to me that almost sounds like just be happy that it's not as bad as it could be. But even that doesn't sound 100% correct. I guess, though, that probably is my best thesis, even though in the back of my mind that doesn't sound 100% correct, to be honest. Thus it is like the Tao. In the last page, Lao Tzu basically said that... Let me actually go back to it. I'm not going to try and remember it and sit here for days. Basically kind of giving up desires. And maybe that has something to do with it. I seem to be very confused by page 8 as well. In dwelling, live close to the ground. So the interesting thing about that is, now granted, I'm not well versed in Native American culture, so if anyone is more, well, there has to be someone more well versed than me. If someone more well versed than me is watching this, please feel free to commentate. I've noticed in a lot of Native American culture, and obviously Lao Tzu wasn't Native American, but just bear with me, that there is kind of a connotation of being one with the earth. The earth is the mother, and mothers take care of you, so be one with the earth and you will be fine. The interesting thing is Native American culture seems to have a very large influence on a lot of things. So I almost wonder if maybe to some degree um, that, Native American culture did have an influence on Lao Tzu somehow. Um, when I was learning a very small bit of ninjutsu, I learned a technique to where you walk a lot faster and a lot more quiet. And my instructor said that that actually came from Native Americans, and somehow um, it was learned in Japan. So I don't fully understand um, the effect that Native American culture has had on everybody else. And I don't know if anybody truly understands how much Native American culture has had an effect on anybody, but it definitely seems to have had a very large effect, nonetheless. And thinking, keep to the simple. So when we complicate things, we get stressed, and stress just kind of ruins our life. To me, ironically enough, that was a very simple point, and that to me, that's literally all he's trying to say is, don't complicate your life. Just think simply, live simply, and just enjoy, and don't be so stressed out. In conflict, be fair and generous. My immediate thought, so as much as I try to get along with everybody, or as much people as possible, realistically, we don't get along with everybody. We never will. But I try to kind of be on good terms with as many people as possible. But that said, there's still going to be people that I particularly don't care for. And I still try to be fair. In the last episode, I mentioned now a former friend that, I don't particularly care for at all, thus former friend. But there were people that made accusations against him, against his back, and despite my ill feelings towards him, I was like, well, I don't particularly think so because of my interactions with him. I wouldn't say I guess I kind of defended him, even though I don't particularly care for him. But, for one, if I was in his shoes, which I have to be, there has to be there has to be people that don't particularly care for me. It happens. And I would want people to do the same. I wouldn't want it to be, oh, me and Punk, we just don't get along because, whatever happened, and, oh, this guy thinks that he's a rapist? Yeah, he's definitely a rapist, man, totally. I mean, that would really suck, wouldn't it? And I mean, really kind of put yourself in other people's shoes. You can really kind of ruin people's lives by just going, you know what, I don't care about this person, so whatever these people say that's negative about them, fuck yeah, that's totally right. Yeah, man, cool. Be fair about it. I mean, just be a decent person. Be the better person. Even if you don't particularly care for that person, if you see that someone is just totally out of line with what they're saying, feel free to tactfully and respectfully be like, well, no, to be fair, in my opinion, in my dealings with this person, I don't feel that you're correct. In conflict, okay. In governing, don't try to control. That's kind of an interesting one. Governing, the way it kind of seems, at least, the way that we view it nowadays, at least, is government is very much in control, but at the same time, I mean, we vote. We have a say in these things. So, I guess maybe what Lao Tzu is trying to say is, if you are going to be in a position of government, listen to the people and don't try to control everything, because, I mean, in a lot of cases, I think I'm not very good with history, so I can't remember a specific time in history, but I do remember hearing about government stepping out of line and the people revolted. So perhaps that's basically what he's trying to say. In work, do what you enjoy. So Lao Tzu is Chinese, but going to the Japanese side, there is a theory called Ikigai. And I'm not well versed in it. I did learn about this from a channel called Brightside. Feel free to check them out. They do some very awesome videos, in my opinion. just talking about, like all these different theories and trying to give tips to where you're more physically and more mentally healthy and whatnot. So definitely check them out. But from what I remember of Ikigai, it's basically sitting down and having a very realistic talk with yourself and kind of figuring out what you want with the one life that you have. And they did mention work. I believe they gave the example on Brightside of a woman in perfectly good health, but she's tired all the time, and she doesn't want to do anything, and she kind of, has it kind of seems like depression, and it kind of led back to her job. Her job may not have been extremely physically demanding. The people may not have been terrible, but it's not really what she wanted to do with her life. So basically saying that even if your job is like, it's not terrible, but it's not you, go do what's you and really figure out what you want in life. And I believe they gave the example of someone who they can cook reasonably well. So if you can cook reasonably well, because I believe they did mention taking your skills into account as well, which would definitely be very important. Take those into consideration and really think about what you could do to kind of make them profitable. That way you're making money doing what you enjoy. And so going back to the person who can cook pretty well, hone your skills and maybe be a cook. Maybe you will enjoy that more than whatever you're doing now. And maybe, if it's possible, save up money and start your own restaurant and, very much kind of introduce your take on what good food is to various people. Also, though, if you happen to be a very particularly good cook, outside of, monetary aspects, outside of workplace aspects, if you want to do something to kind of make the world a better place, there are people that are homeless. You could literally cook things and give them to homeless people. I've actually lived in a homeless shelter. Homeless shelter food sucks. And these are people that are down on their luck as it is. So that would really kind of brighten their day. Instead of being handed the same bland tuna fish sandwich, for the last 2, 3, 4, whatever days. Really cook something nice for them and, really kind of make their life better. And maybe in return, that'll make you feel better as well. In family life, be completely present. This is definitely very important. This is going to get semi-controversial, I won't lie. So, anymore we hear about how video games are causing violence, and music is causing violence, and this, that, and the other. I disagree. I grew up with a lot of violent video games. I grew up with rock, heavy metal. I won't mention any names again, because then some people will simply turn to certain video games and start attacking them. They will turn to certain music acts and start attacking them. I do not want to do that. I do not want to facilitate that, I should say. But I knew better than to reenact what I saw in video games. I knew better than to take out any sort of aggression on a physical person, even if the lyrics, kind of gave ideas. Some people do vent. While most of my channel kind of has a bright feeling to it, everybody has a dark side, myself included. Some of the things I've written are kind of dark. I do write poetry, I do write lyrics, and some of it does get a bit dark, just to kind of bleed it out. Just to kind of, not let it stay inside and fester and do something that, because when things build up, that's when people go really over the top. So, I don't believe it's the music, I don't believe it's the video games, I believe it's parents that weren't present enough in their child's life. They didn't, I'm just going to say, they quite frankly didn't care enough. They may feel that they cared, But if you care, you're going to be present. You're going to be a part of that life. And anymore, we hear stories where people aren't. Sadly enough, I remember months back hearing a story on the news. A child died because they were left in the backseat of a car for an extended period of time in the summer in, very hot weather. And the parents simply forgot they were there. And that's terribly disgusting. And what makes it even more disgusting is on the news they were talking about put something important like a purse, a laptop, whatever it may be back there, so you'll reach for that and you'll remember your child is there. I don't know if my audio cut out there. It disconnected my controller. Sorry about that. Yeah, I don't know when exactly the audio kicked in. Sorry if I'm being a bit repetitive. It disconnected my controller, which disconnected the microphone right in the middle of my thoughts. So, but anyway, going back to it, if your child is not the thing in the back seat that is important, that's quite frankly disgusting. It shouldn't be you have to put a laptop back there. Your child should be the important thing that is in the back seat. So, how present are we in our family life if we have to put a laptop in the back of the seat with our child, or we have to put a briefcase or a purse or our McDonald's cheeseburger or whatever the hell it is in the back seat? Sorry, I'm trying to plug in a controller and commentate at the same time. Anyway, so with that said, we definitely very much need to start being present in family life because it is an important thing. But anymore, I don't really feel like we are if, we're leaving children in the back seat and our Wendy's Baconator is the important thing we have to put in the back seat so we remember Junior. When you are content to simply be yourself and don't compare or compete, everybody will respect you. So being content with yourself is definitely a very important thing. And I feel like Lao Tzu is making a very important point, but I feel like he can also be contradicted in this one because some people do kind of respect competitive people. I will respect a competitive person not because they're competitive, but just because they're a person. Some people will respect competitive people because they are competitive. So I don't know how prevalent that was in Lao Tzu's day. But I guess he's mainly just kind of voicing his opinion on people that don't really compete. Yeah, I guess it's just plain and simple. There's no underlying message. He just kind of feels that if you're not a competitive person, people will like you. But with all that said, if you like this video, please feel free to like, share, comment, subscribe, ring the notification bell, all the typical crap you hear at the end of every single YouTube video. And if this wasn't your thing, please feel free to check out other videos. I have video game related videos. I have more humorous videos. I have other types of thoughts videos. And if none of that is for you, please feel free to check out some of my friends. All Your Data Belongs to Us does some very artistic and interpretive videos. Katarina Ivory does Drag Queen Storytime as well as Snackbox tastings. My friend Black Angus Reviews, he does a lot of movie reviews and social commentary. And my friend Roachhead85 is a very phenomenal Star Wars Battlefront player who has Star Wars videos, mainly for Star Wars Battlefront 2015, but a little bit for Star Wars Battlefront 2017 as well. So if any of that interests you, feel free to check it out. And regardless of where life takes you, here's wishing only the very best to you and all those closest to you. And have a great day. Thank you.